Okay, we will continue on with our open session. Resolution number 3-21, moved by Councillor Mullins, seconded by Councillor Stafuric. That the minutes of the council and committee of the whole meeting held December 15th, 2020 be accepted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Resolution number 4-21, moved by Councillor Stafuric, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that the minutes of the special council meeting held December 21st, 2020 be accepted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Resolution number 5-21, moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that council approve the quotation from Work Equipment Limited for a trackless 51-inch snow blower with sidewalk chute in the amount of $9,875, excluding shipping and applicable taxes, and a trackless rear-mounted double agitator sander in the amount of $8,175, excluding shipping and applicable taxes. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Just one question on that, Dave,
Yeah.
with the machinery there, like, I have to assume that various, not bids so much, but, I mean, how many different companies would, you know, where this comes from, or?
I don't think there's very many, Red. There's only one.
There's only one trackless vehicle company.
Is that right?
Like the other companies that make a machine similar, but not
Yeah.
as good a quality.
Okay. I was curious about that.
Okay, resolution number 6-21, moved by Councillor Stafuric, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that checks issued on the general bank account in the month of December 2020 in the amount of $235,444.96 for general accounts payable be approved and ratified. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Resolution number 7-21, moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that bank debt debits issued on the general bank account in the month of December 2020 in the amount of $54,591.48 for payroll be approved and ratified. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Resolution number 8-21, moved by Councillor Stafuric, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that council direct administration divest the property known as 5851-001-09301 as per the rules outlined in the Municipal Act 2001, and that council declare the property as a surplus asset to be disposed of. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Resolution number 9-21, moved by Councillor Morrow, seconded by Councillor McGrath. That council direct administration to vest the property known as 5851 000 001 09700 as per the rules outlined in the Municipal Act 2001. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Resolution number 10-21, moved by Councillor Mullins, seconded by Councillor Stafuric. That bylaw 1-2021, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy and to provide for the payment of taxes and to provide for penalties and interest, be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
How much different would that, is it a big change? I don't understand. Or
Marlene?
interim tax rates.
So this is just giving the authorization that we can issue the interim tax bills for 2021, and they are based on 50% of what was charged in 2020.
So it's
So it doesn't, it's not, there isn't an increase associated with your.
same as
interim.
usual?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Alrighty. That brings to a close the council portion of the meeting. We'll move into the committee of the whole with the department reports. First up, CAO clerk report.
This was just a report summarizing the meeting that we had with our emergency control group. We met on January 13th to discuss the impact of the provincial emergency order on municipal operations. And overall, we're compliant with a lot of these regulations. Again, there was little new that really impacts us. Again, in terms of major impacts, again, employee screening, that's self-screening that we are going to start doing. In terms of recreation amenities, the baseball field and the outdoor rink, we're going to look at reopening those since they can actually open up. And in the report, they put a 5-person limitation. From our discussions, again, there seems to be a bit of back and forth with what people are interpreting as the limitation, but it looks like we can do a maximum of 10, so that's what we're going to be putting, a maximum of 10 for the outdoor rink and for the ballpark.
5 or 10?
10. We'll go with 10. And that's really, again, the only impact. I mean, in terms of the closure to our municipal facilities, at this point we're expecting to maintain the closure up until Tuesday, February 16th, 2020, to just coincide with the emergency declaration. We don't know at this point whether the declaration is going to be extended for another 28 days. When it comes to, again, regulations for screening and everything that we are required to do in our municipal facilities, that's indoor facilities, it's really going to be easiest to keep things closed for the meantime. When it comes to another major decision, that's going to be the closure of the arena from a fiscal perspective, as the cost for $11,000 per month in electricity bills may offer savings of about approximately $5,000 to $7,000 a month should we choose to close the ice plant. Now, that's going to be, of course, a big decision to make, but again, there's a lot of money in terms of savings, and you have to estimate, are we going to open come February 16th? Is the provincial emergency declaration going to continue past that date? It's hard to say. It's hard to say looking at the situation for this pandemic, which is really on a weekly or daily basis that you have to look at what's going on. I don't know what's everyone's thoughts with that.
I would like to not make a decision until we know if the lockdown's extended.
Which we should
Personally.
know- Yeah, which we should know by the 11th or sooner.
Yeah,
Well, when you think of February 16th, I mean, you'd only be looking at a maximum of 4 weeks after that anyway.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe even more, like just 3, maybe 4. So, that's not, is that, I don't think it's long enough to, whatever.
When were we scheduled to close anyway? March 13th? The arena?
I think it was 15th this year.
15th? March 15th?
but does that mean we have to stick to that date? Could you not push it? If we can open the
No.
arena on the 15th, could we not push it to the end of March so people can use the arena for a month and a half?
No, I don't mean, no.
Oh, I know,
No,
yeah.
for sure.
I agree, if we
Wait till
know
the-
more
Okay.
on the 11th, then we can make a decision.
Everybody fine with that?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems to,
So,
No, just another look at it.
well, when?
February 11th.
Well, certainly.
Okay, so we'll wait till the 11th or sooner. They might make.
Well, I wasn't talking tomorrow when I suggested that.
Oh, no.
You know, like,
No, but I mean, this lockdown is supposed to end on the 11th. We might know by the 9th or 10th if it's going to be extended, so
Yeah, it's not that far away.
we can make a decision at that time. Is everybody fine with that?
yeah, as soon as we find out for sure.
Yeah, okay. Alrighty. Next up is the tax arrears update. Are there any questions on that for treasurer? This was just for information purposes. Everybody fine with that? Okay, the next one is tax write-offs for 2020. Any questions on that? The recommendation here is that we authorize the write-off of property taxes in the amount of $14,298.85. Any questions on that?
That will go to council and to vote on? How does that work?
We would pass it next meeting.
Next meeting, it'll go to the council portion, right? And then we'll pass it by resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
how is it, I sure don't understand. We're talking about tax write-offs for last year. Already? Like, I don't get that. What are you gonna write off?
Marlene has an answer for you, Doug.
Please.
So these are all, the majority of them have to do with changes that MPAC has put through. So MPAC is tasked with assessing property in Ontario. So they've done that. There may be changes that have occurred within the year for 2020.
Okay.
Where a property came back as one tax class and MPAC has decided that it should be in a different tax class.
Right.
Or there may have been requests for reconsiderations that people have put in on their properties and those minutes of settlement have come back.
Yeah.
So these are not, these write-offs are not anything that council has any real control over what happens to them.
So it's
Like-
basically impact based,
So you have to do the.
like I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's impact's doing, then,
Yeah, they do the changes, they're the ones, so they've decided either that there's been something wrong on the roll or there's been.
people have requested that, no doubt.
People, it may be through a request for reconsideration
Yeah.
process, and then they have minutes of settlement that they agree to, or it could be that there was
Right.
an event that occurred within the year, so it was a change in tax class that occurred. So, MPAC has methods where, how they can change the assessment so that people are paying what they're supposed to be paying.
Yeah,
So that's what these ones are.
okay, thank you.
Okay, next up is the property tax write-offs for 2021. And the recommendation is that we authorize the write-off of property taxes in the amount of $15,304.18. Any questions on that? Okay, then we move on to the budget variance report. For our information, there are no recommendations, it's for your information. Unless you have any questions of Marlene. And our Director of Operations report, status update as of January 19th. Any questions for our Director of Operations on this?
Have you, I guess you've never requested a price or anything on the wall, on the, at the rec center or anything like that? The repair work?
Oh, the up back?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, we did have a price there last year, but we didn't get it repaired at that time.
We did,
It's around
eh?
$7,000, I think, was what one fellow quoted me. I'll have to check with a couple of different companies before springtime comes around.
Yeah, I guess, so we wanna get it done, I guess we're gonna have to get it
Yeah,
looked at.
it's looking not good.
No, we took a look at it there last year too.
Yeah, it's pretty rough shape. Any other questions? Then, the next one, Director of Operations report, fuel recommendation for the year 2021.
There's a Director of Operations recommendation to extend the fuel contract to Ultramar for a year.
Yeah.
Everybody fine with that?
Yeah, it's good.
Definitely.
Even cheaper than last time, right?
Yeah. Then the CED report.
In terms of where things are with the Discovery Center, we actually received the occupation permit. I'm just confirming with insurance that everything is covered and good to go. Fenway will be coming back to complete touch-ups for remaining deficiencies and cleanup sometime in the springtime. The pigeon problem continues. We're trying to find something that's not going to break the bank here. And this time I have purchased some sort of sound repellent. I'm gonna be curious to see how it works. I'm doubtful, but this was only about $50 or so. But I thought it was worth a shot at this point. any other methods, whether we have to put pigeon spikes up there or netting. Again, we're looking at, you know, $5,000 or so, whether it's a net gun or something, it's about $2,000, $3,000. So trying to avoid spending money, but the closer we get to our opening day for the museum, again, it means we need to amp up whatever methods we're using. It means we have to look at the fact that we have to be willing to spend some money in order to get these pigeons removed. I've been in talks again with the Director of Operations for different methodologies to tackle this problem, and he's getting some quotes.
We did,
This sound, excuse me, this sound idea, did somebody recommend that? Like, has somebody had, familiar with it? Or?
It's just a product on, in this case, it's just on Amazon, and we looked at ratings for it, and it seems to be hit or miss. Some people say it works, some people say it doesn't.
Oh.
I don't know if it's a local thing with the pigeons. Some pigeons maybe are more sensitive to noise than others. It's hard to say, but I think we're dealing with a stubborn group here. They
we did purchase traps, correct? We did purchase some traps. Are they working or?
Not working very well right at the moment, no.
No, not at the moment.
Not at all.
They continue to elude us.
You think if some community, I don't know how you go about it, we could get some advice, they must have the same issues in a lot of places. I don't,
You would think a couple of peregrine falcons, maybe.
yeah.
Didn't one company say they would give a presentation, Brett?
One company did offer to come down and give a presentation of why trying to get rid of them will not work.
Yeah, but that's for a city.
So that was what the presentation was about.
But
The other thing is
not a solution?
the exclusion with the netting and the fixed light.
It's a frustrating situation.
It is.
But we need to certainly have something concrete done before we try and open that place by summertime, so.
If I can speak.
Well, we can get rid of them humanely.
But the most recommended option by the pest control companies is to put up the netting and the fixed light spikes. Is what I'm getting from the pest control companies.
Okay.
Price for that was about, the spikes at least, I believe, was about $10,000.
They have one price of $33,000.
There you go.
And fixed light.
Well, then we will continue working towards a solution.
Yeah.
We have to have something, like I say, done before.
In terms of the interpretive planning, that's still on track for completion by about June. The A6 Trail, again, there's a final 400 meters of construction that we weren't able to complete last year due to all the rainfall in September. So we're aiming to complete that as well, as again, as soon as the snow thaws. And in terms of the downtown revitalization, right now, just in terms of an update right now, tendering has been pushed back about a week or so. This is again, they just had to make some fewer architectural tweaks in the drawings. And our current estimated time of releasing this tender is now the first week of February. Still a competitive time for us to get it out.
And the tender is for just the pavilion or everything?
Everything,
Okay.
everything. Yep.
I've probably asked that question a couple times. It's confirming
It just
for everything.
I think I asked this at a meeting. It's gonna be pigeon proof, eh?
I'll certainly chat with the engineers and designers and.
Because the designer on that pavilion, or on the rail museum, they said it was pigeon proof and they
Yep.
put in I-beam.
Yep.
I don't know where they came from, what school they came from, but
Right. In this case, there is a canopy portion. It's not, obviously not the sizable canopy we have at the museum, which is huge, right? So in this case, there is a little bit of a canopy there. And I'll double check to see if it is open in any way with beams to just make sure that if possible, we can look at whatever change order we can put in to make sure that we can address that and make sure that pigeons don't roost there or stay there. I'll ask our community economic development manager to look into that.
Any other questions? We'll move on to the senior coordinator December report. Any questions on that?
I can give a little report on senior committee.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
We had a meeting yesterday, so our logo, the 3x6 logo, will be placed on the front of the municipal complex below the municipal logo. That's gone out for sign creation. Bingo's ongoing, and that's well received by everyone. Chair yoga is ongoing. There'll be 10 more sessions for that. And just an update on the New Horizon grant that we received. The funding from that was distributed before Christmas, or part of it was distributed with the hampers that went out. So that was well received. There's also 13 iPads that were purchased that will be distributed through the library once the library is open again. And we currently have 258 members, so we're still growing. That'll be huge once we get going.
Yeah, very
Things
good.
we can accomplish. That's it.
Thanks very much, Dan.
And what's the, Dan, what's the idea with the iPads, just to,
Anybody that needs to access the internet, or needs to do things online, or wants to learn about the internet, or wants to learn about iPads, I mean, the library has been provided training for seniors.
but them iPads stay with the library?
Well, they're loaned out.
And well, I heard, no, the reason I'm asking, I've heard people say, well, I'm getting one.
They're what?
They're getting one.
Oh,
And I'm thinking, like, what are we doing? Buying iPads for people? But they're loaned out. That's
yeah, they're just loaned out, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I think
Like a book, you gotta bring it back.
Yeah, maybe we better have cards.
I think the late fee should be a little higher for.
And the ones they did have, I think the library had 13 of their own, and they were being well used.
Good program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks.
Next up, bylaw enforcement report. Any questions? Okay, and the next up is the public library board meeting minutes. Any questions on that?
I see they have a radon detector now that was donated by
Mm-hmm.
Eco Superior. And I guess that's an issue in some
Yep.
places. but,
Especially in basements, right, it tends to,
Yeah, I never ever thought about it.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
It can be a major health issue.
yep.
That's right, yes.
but,
Considering they make a lot of use of that basement, it's,
Yeah, I mean, some towns are worse than others, so
Mhm.
Yep.
it'd be a good opportunity to see what's going on in your basement.
Okay, any other questions on that? Then we go to the fire department activity report. Any questions for the chief?
I see you had some good use of that new fire truck, Jan.
Yes, it's working out quite well.
Right away, you you put it to good use.
I think the 2 days it took, it didn't take long for us to
Yeah.
get it out on the road.
So you got to test it out right away.
Yeah, perfect.
Right on. Then item number 13, request for the truck purchase recommendation.
And there's this recommendation, it's gonna be purchase the 2007 ALF rescue truck from Fort Garry Fire Trucks of Winnipeg at a cost of $100,000 on condition that it passes an Ontario MOT inspection.
Any questions or thoughts on that?
And that's from Fire Department Reserves, the fire truck reserves?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, through the reserve,
Yeah, and everybody likes it, like, I mean,
yeah. It's pretty unanimous, yes. I had one guy who was on the fence, didn't care either way, but everybody else seems to like it out of the other 17. So
I was over it, so it's awesome.
it is some truck, yeah.
Everybody fine with that then?
Yep.
Okay, so the next one up is Rossport Fire Service for 2021. Chief, would you like to speak on that?
Certainly. So what I'm recommending here is that we just do a bylaw agreement with the Rossport Service Board till December 31st. And we just do it as a 12-month or probably 10-month trial period by the time we get it done, just to see how it goes for 2021. And then if we're happy with it and they're happy with it, then we can look at altering it up or extending what we've got. So I really don't think, the stats are there from them. 10 calls over 12 years, really, it only adds 0.6 calls a year to us, which is, we wouldn't notice one way or another, really, given the call volume that we already have. The other interesting fact that's in there is that we were attending a third of their calls already anyhow. And that's been going on for years and years, at least since before my time coming to town here. In fact, the first time I could find mention in the logbooks of us actually driving down to Rossport for a fire was 1952 or 53, I believe it was. So it's been going on for quite some time. So,
Does this include Nickel Island?
no, it does not.
No,
No, Nickel Island has never joined the service board. So,
Right.
So what would happen if there was a fire on Nickel Island?
basically, we wouldn't go to that.
But I mean-
Not through this agreement, anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
like, I'm having a problem with it because, first of all, $2,100 to, that doesn't do anything for the municipality of Schreiber, really.
Yeah.
We respond to a fire out of Rossport, and I think we should,
Yeah.
but not under an agreement. But say we put a situation out there, say 5 firemen, fire people
Yeah.
show up at the fire hall, and you decide to send them to a fire in Rossport, and then we get a fire call in Schreiber, and now nobody shows up
Yes.
for
So,
like, I mean, if we're not under contract, would it not be better?
well, since they've disbanded their team, there's no way for me to have a mutual aid or an automatic aid agreement with something that doesn't exist. So to cover ourselves, through like our WSID and things like that, I've got to have something on paper that says, yes, we can go. Now, to waylay your fear of what happens if only 5 people show up or we don't have enough, it would be the same thing we signed in the contract with Dooley's and Kilrain, or the same thing we signed with Ferris Bay, and that is, if we don't, we'll have it in the amendment, or sorry, not the amendment, but the appendix to the bylaw, Whereas if we don't have enough people to go, the response is either not gonna happen or it's gonna be delayed. You know, or another line that's in it is if there's already an existing emergency situation or there's simultaneous calls, that again, the response is gonna either not happen or it's gonna be delayed.
Our first priority would be Schreiber.
Would be Schreiber, that's right. So that is in the draft.
Can I ask, Chief, how did you come up with 2,100, or was there?
What we did is I went down to Rossport and I took a look through what their costs were on operating. They want to shut the heat off to that fire hall down there. And so their budget is small. They get a budget that they ask the province for, and the province collects the money now from the service board population and then pays it to the service board. So I asked them what it cost them to run that hall. They gave me a figure and I divided it up. So the cost was $3,000 it cost them to heat it. So I gave the figure of the $1,500 plus the insurance on the truck, came up with the $2,100. And I told Rossport, because they would still be maintaining their equipment, we wouldn't be using Schreiber's equipment. It would be the equipment from their truck, their hose trailer, their pumps that already exist, that they should put the remaining $900 into a equipment reserve fund to maintain that equipment.
Okay.
So that's how we came up with that number.
John, do you have any affiliation with Pace Plat? I know you provided training there.
Yes. We do have I would call it a verbal agreement with Phase Plat right now. We do have one member of our fire prevention team that lives in Phase Plat, and we are taking care of their truck for them and that right now. Like we're doing the maintenance and then maintaining the equipment down in Phase Plat for them.
Would you ever respond to Pace Plat?
Oh yes, that happens, and it's happened twice in 2020.
Okay, so having equipment in Rossport Fire Hall would be beneficial for your team?
It would be beneficial for our team, and really it would expand our recruiting area because we'd be able to take in anybody that ever were to move there. We've already got 2 guys, we've had 3. We have 2 guys that live in Kilrain Township, White Sand and Sealam, that are on the department already. So it would help us there too, by putting, you know, having that station join in, at least to trial it out until the end of the year. Effectively, what we're trying to prove is it worth merging the fire team in Rossport and maybe Pace Plat into a single department.
Right. So this would be like a trial basis, right?
Correct, yeah, I've put in the draft that it should end on December 31st, 2021.
And at that time, we could
renegotiate or decide to walk away from it completely.
Any other questions then?
I think it sounds good to try it for a year. What's the harm?
Any other comments?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't think it's enough?
Well, no, I don't think it's enough, but I mean,
What is,
what are we gonna do if there's a fire in Nickel Island? I think we're gonna respond. I mean, I think you have to, but you got a contract with Rossport, and you don't got one with Nickel Island, and people are gonna ask you, why did you respond to Nickel Island? Like, I don't know.
I believe that maybe even Dan could answer this a little better than I could, but I believe since they've never joined, Nickel Island's always been private property, and that even the Rossport fire team didn't really go on the Nickel Island. You know, and they tried to work that out a few times, and that kind of fell apart on them. So the people in Nickel Island don't pay into the Rossport Service Board and don't pay that portion of the whatever the tax is for the fire. So, and if they live there, they're already well aware of it, that they're not getting that service.
Yeah, they were never part of, like, the community designated as Rossport, which had a local services board, like a small government. And fire was one of the powers that we had in Rossport. We tried to get Nickel Island to join Rossport, so they'd be under the umbrella of the local services board, and they always said, no, we want to be standalone. So part of that was, well, you don't have fire service, you don't pay into it. We can't go there and be covered under WSIB and so on. And they understood that if there was a fire there, they were on their own.
How much does the local services board in Rossport charge a household for fire service?
I couldn't give you an accurate number on that, Doug, because it's all lumped into provincial land tax.
Oh,
So you get one bill for fire, water, and recreation, which are the powers that the LSP has.
right.
So you're taxed through the province. So,
And I would think that if Nickel Island wants to cover it, the onus is on them to ask for it. But obviously, they've been asked before and they've
Turned it
said
down.
no, so.
Now, that said, we do have a draft fees bylaw that does, one of the things in there is individual property owner contract for somebody outside the township. So if they did want to purchase it from us, we
Yeah.
would have to then, at that point, figure out what that bill would be
On an individual basis.
on an individual basis.
Well, what does everyone think? You think this is a good idea for a pilot project? Yeah, Dave? Dan?
well, I live in Rossport, so, it's hard for me to me, it's beneficial, but that's not my role. The role is it beneficial to the municipality, and that's why I asked Jan, is it beneficial to have extra equipment in an empty Rossport fire hall? Will that provide some kind of a service for the municipality, like for highway calls or to service Pace Plat?
Yes, I believe it would.
Yeah, so-
If we pre-position that truck there, and
Yeah.
Rossport's paying the bills on it. And like I said, our guys are in Kilrain now. And
Yeah,
it'd be
so-
an easy thing to pick that truck up and take it onto the highway. At which point it becomes something we can bill to the MTO.
Yeah.
So it has a possibility to generate actual revenue.
Okay, thanks.
Doug, what do you feel?
Well, I'm a little concerned about, the personnel, like having 5 or 6 firefighters out of town and something happens here, like, regardless of how much usable equipment there is in Rossport, some people out there might expect to have exactly the same service as we do. They're just gonna think that way once they hear about something like this, and so, I don't know. If Jan thinks it could work, then I'll go along with that.
Okay. Any other comments then? And you feel we should enter into this agreement on a pilot basis? Okay. Majority is all right with that? Okay. All right, thanks, Chief. Next up are the next 3 Aqua Reports. Were there any questions on any of those?
I have one question on the water report. And there was a couple of alarms for low temperature alarms in the reservoir. My question is, how do you overcome that? Like it seems like an awful big reservoir of water to heat. So, and it's maintained at 3 degrees Celsius, I believe.
They have to go up to the.
Well, I think it's in the report, but that's what I picked up on. So if you're below that and you get a low temperature water, low water temperature, what happens? Crank up
Well,
the
it gives you
heat?
enough differential that you have a few hours time to go and correct the issue.
And then how do you correct it? You just crank up the heat, or?
Generally, when it's low, does that, and I think it just, the power's cut off to it, so they have to just go and get the breaker turned back on. There's an adjustment in the breaker. I'm not an electrician, so I don't.
Okay, but that's for, the breaker would be for heat?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of heaters would be in that?
There's like pipes inserted into the storage tower.
Okay.
That has heaters inside those, so that if you had to work on them, you could
circulating?
take them out without taking, and then there's, there's circulation.
Right.
Tank.
Okay, now I was curious how that worked.
So much engineering behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
Always wonder, and you just see like the tower, and then you think about all these logistical issues that the engineers have to face.
Especially in January.
So we have an addition concerning Aqua about the flow meters at the water treatment plant. Do we have any questions on that?
Of course, it's a recommendation to authorize Aqua to hire automation now to install flow meters at the water treatment plant at a cost of $81,499.48.
Now, having said that, we're going to have a discussion with the, I guess, district manager, is he?
Yes.
On Thursday concerning this, as the price has kind of gone up since we first talked about it. And I guess they're talking about administration fees and that. So we've asked for a meeting with Jeff so we can discuss this. So whether it will actually be that or if we can negotiate something different, that's our goal at this point. We're not very happy with the additional expenses that they're asking us to undertake.
It's about a $7,000 administrative fee. And but overall, this has always been the complicated thing with the flow meters. This was initially identified as something we required in the capital budget last year. So it's again it's required for compliance sake, and wish there were other options, but it has to be done.
We know we have to do it, but we're just questioning why the
Yeah, that administration fees.
Yeah, so we're gonna work with Jeff on that and see what we can come up with. Alrighty, any
Yeah,
other
to do it.
questions on that? Okay, next up is question period. Any questions? Anything online? Nothing there? Communications. Anything outstanding that anybody would like to talk about?
There's a couple there on insurance, the
Yes.
cost of insurance, you may want to support.
Yes, I think we do, and we're going to, on one of our delegations, where we want to talk about that, because it is definitely an issue with all municipalities, especially, when there was, in our case, there were 3 insurance companies were going to quote on insurance, and then 2 of them backed out, and we were left with only 1. And the increase is, it's getting to be almost, we can't afford it. And we're
Yeah.
not the only municipality, so I agree, we would like to support this resolution from them, and we're going to try and get everybody, together across the province to try and deal with this, because it's getting out of hand.
Absolutely. About a 20 grand increase or so each year, so,
I think when I first started here, it was 60-something, and now it's gonna hit 100. I mean, wow, we just can't continue on this road, and we're not the only municipality facing this, so.
Yeah, there was 2 requests for resolution
Yes.
support there, 16 and 17. So-
Yeah. So, everybody in favor of supporting those resolutions?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then we shall go ahead and do that.
Did you wanna speak to number 5, Dave?
Yes.
in terms of this anonymous letter, so the main thing for viewers is if you're giving us any correspondence, make sure you put a name to it, phone number, some email or something, just an opportunity for us to get back to you if you have any questions. If it's an anonymous letter, there's little for us to do with an anonymous letter, and if it is directed to council, we won't put anonymous letters on our agenda. In this case, there were a couple of inquiries, so I thought I'd just clarify them. And one of the questions was about do bylaw complaints have to be complaint driven? And, that's not the case. We do active monitoring, again, for parking and all. We see issues, we like to address it. Then again, this comes down to resources. We have one bylaw officer who works in bylaw part-time, and just based on that, there's just simply not enough time for us to deal with every single bylaw issue that we see. What we do is we prioritize issues on a complaint-driven basis, especially if there's a health and safety circumstance or problem. We'll definitely put that up. If there's something health and safety, where there's nails left out on someone's lawn or something like that, we will respond to that right away. Other than that, it's is there a genuine correlation to a neighbor's a disruption to a neighbor's enjoyment of their property? Like if it's something pertaining to noise or whatever it may be, is it a genuine disruption to your property? We have to take all of that into consideration and prioritize the bylaw issues that we address in that kind of order. Now, in terms of when we're looking around, if there is some sort of blatant or obvious violation, again, you have to keep in mind that the bylaw officer is human, and of course you're going to see, you may see a violation on your street, but when they go out to do a tour, they may not go down that street. It's in terms of our approach, the approach is to ensure that there is fairness in what we're doing here. But when it comes to recognizing every single parking violation on the street at a certain time, I can see that there may be an issue of one car in an area that's maybe not illuminated as well. We try to avoid these kinds of issues, and we try to try to address everything as far as humanly possible. There's also the question when it comes to vehicles and campers. And the question is, how come they're on some lots and not on other lots? The main thing here is, again, vehicles on vacant residential lots. And that's the key thing, residential lots, vacant residential lots. If it's on a commercial lot, vehicles can park in commercial lots should that commercial lot be an actual parking lot. So hopefully that answers that question. I don't know if council has any other specific questions stemming out of that letter that I may have not addressed. It's always a tricky thing with bylaw. We want to enforce all the legislation that is passed at this table. At the same time, we understand that it can be a touchy subject for a lot of people, and we want to keep it as professional as we can keep it.
Any other comments, questions? Anything else under communications?
I just have one on number 2, the next bridge letter. And just looking through it, I just thought there might be an opportunity there on on page 3, when they're asking if you have a project or initiative that supports community safety, culture, or the environment in the right-of-way communities, please consider applying for a community investment fund. Is that something that you might be able to apply for?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
They have a fund that they give out to each community that they're coming through. We've tapped into the part of that already for the harvest food cupboard.
Okay.
And there is a bit of money left there. But I believe this is a little different. And I'll be glad to get in touch with the gentleman I've been talking to and see if there's any further funding available to us.
Okay, good.
Okay. And I guess next up is an addition, the Walker's Lake green space. We had a request from an individual at Walker's Lake that we look into developing a piece of property up there for a playground, I guess, and he asked that it be put on the agenda just for consideration. And I believe that if there would be any funding available, that would have to come out of the budget process as we go through our budget to see what we have and where we can apply that funding to. Any questions or comments on that?
I think it was a good answer.
I mean, we can't, we certainly can't make a decision right here this evening. There are other projects that people have brought forward too, so we have to take them all into consideration. But
Could you task Dominic with a rough estimate of what this would cost the municipality to do the work?
to develop that,
Yeah,
yeah,
like the surveying, they're just like rough.
yeah.
Yep, in terms of estimates like that, if you wanted to do a survey, it would be, survey comes in around 7 or 8 grand. And then from that, the next level is, if it's just gonna be sod, we got pricing for, on Scotia Street, and it was about, Mooney, if you recall, about 4 or 5 grand, right?
It was about $5 grand
5
for the
grand.
both.
For both.
For both, yeah.
And when it comes to the playground equipment, that really depends on what you want. I mean, you got some things that are fairly on the cheaper side. Things like swings and all aren't too pricey. We have a booklet from a supplier we can take a look at, so we can put that together if
Yeah,
you want
just
to
like
know.
a
Just a
rough
rough
number.
estimate.
Yeah,
Yep.
ballpark figure.
Why would it necessarily have to be surveyed in the first place?
That's just to confirm that if we are developing that property, that we do,
I mean, you can hardly go wrong, there's a road on two sides of it, and a
You need
lake
to-
on the other.
But the problem is that property where that bush starts, where's the line,
Yeah.
right? Because that, someone owns that bush down to the lake. That's a separate property. And then there's the house right there too. Do we know where the property, all I know is the property lines up at Walker's Lake are a mess.
Yeah.
So,
Well, is this park area up into where those two roads intersect? Right up
yeah, it would be
into
on
that
the corner like where they
Yeah.
put the flower pot. But you still wanna know exactly.
You're gonna develop it, you wanna know where it is.
Kids are playing on the park, who's to say they're gonna run, fall, and now they're on someone else's property and they've hurt themselves.
and that's a good point too, right? If the kids are playing there and all, right, if it's used as a park, it may be seen as a issue for some people who are just adjacent to that property, and, you know, they may not necessarily want people, like members of the public, coming onto their property. And in general, if we're gonna be using money to improve any plot of land, we wanna make sure that it is our land, otherwise someone will be getting free sod, essentially, on their private lot. But yeah, we can put together at least a rough outline of what we think this would cost based on the plan. That way, you'll be able to determine what you're looking at in terms of price tag when it comes to the 2021 capital budget.
Are there no survey stakes up at Walker's Lake at all?
There is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there are, but we don't know how.
Or you would
accurate.
have to think they're where they all should be.
They're not.
I
The
remember-
problem is that they're where they should be, but things aren't where they should be.
I remember when
Like,
we did that road.
Oh, but if the property's been surveyed already, you know,
I don't know if that
they,
one has.
they can be found. What
Just tie,
like-
just tie into it. and-
Well, once you, you know, like, you're gonna spend $7,000 to survey, maybe you're better off to spend some money to find out where the surveys are already.
We can, I think our public works can find the stakes if they're there, right? But we still have to check it out, make sure that it's accurate.
Yeah, I'd just for that area, I'd highly recommend that you do get a survey done, just because we don't want to have any legal disputes over public land versus private land, and especially when I looked at that property, that there seems to be a lot of other properties that are adjacent to it.
Maybe,
Yep.
excuse me, maybe you could give us a map at the next meeting
Yep.
with showing where exactly it is.
Yep. I can do that.
Then we know what we're talking
Yep,
Yep, that's a good point.
alrighty. Any other comments or questions on that? Then we have no other business, so I guess we will, resolution number 11-21, moved by Councillor Mullen, seconded by Councillor Staffier, that the closed meeting resume at this time. All in favor? Carried, thank you.